Good evening. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Hidden Horror, right? Um, for about the last week, we've had a lot of videos rolled out about Jennifer Crumbley's trial. And now she's been convicted and she'll be sentenced on April the 9th. And her husband, James Crumbley, his trial will start in the month of March, the early part of March. So I want to kind of go over a little bit more about Ethan Crumbley because I think it's important for us to talk a little bit about the impact of these mass shootings. I know in the journal, in the drawings, um, Ethan Crumbley talked a lot about wanting to cause as much pain as he could, um, hurt as many people as he could. Hear and see the parents crying, um, wanting his victims to suffer like he felt that he was suffering. That's what I really want to talk about tonight: the suffering, the the feelings of loneliness, um, feeling depressed, feeling sad. I'm going to this place. This is a dark place because I need people to understand that this was not something that just happened overnight. This was something that was developed over time through the negligence, the neglect, the not being there, and really not caring. Um, I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about Ethan because he is the start of it all. And the more that we understand his mindset, why did he do this terrible thing? Some to people that he knew. And was there any kind of way that could stop him, that could pull him out of this darkness? I feel there's an answer to both. I think he did it out of pain, out of what he felt in his life. There was nothing special, nothing about him. He said his life was useless. And I think if there was love, care, intervention, time put into Ethan, not just addressing his mental health, that is a part of it. I believe that Ethan had been having feelings of loneliness, withdrawal since he was a young boy. I'm going to go over some information because we see now the devastation, the aftermath of it all. We're going to talk about the aftermath for Ethan as a result of his actions during the mass shooting at Oxford High School. And we're going to talk about the aftermath for the families of the victims that were killed. We're going to talk about the aftermath for the survivors, for the community, for those teachers, the administrators, the law enforcement, all involved. This is a huge undertaking to assess the emotional toll, the mental toll, the parts of a mass shooting that is never really discussed. We're going to talk about it today. I've been thinking and I've been trying to find a way to not just discuss the case because it is a historical case. It sets a precedent that parents of a mass shooter can be charged, will be charged, and it will be for a level of homicide. That is one piece. That is the criminal justice angle. But I also look at the social angle. How these mass shootings have cascaded an umbrella where people are now having so many issues. It's almost as if all of the pain, all of the hurt, all of the suffering, the anger, the neglect that was inside of Ethan bottled up, um, confined in him, torturing him, stressing him, depressing him. Thoughts of loneliness, thoughts of despair, thoughts of anger, thoughts of homicide, suicide, torture, all of that in him has now been inflicted on all of these people. The school, the school system, the teachers and staff and administrators, the parents, the siblings, just so many people. They have all kind of problems now. Anxiety, PTSD, fear. Mental health problems, survivor's guilt, anger. I don't know what you call it when you're replaying events. It's almost like being in a nightmare. No one wants to send their child to school for their education, and they have to be consciously and terribly aware of all of the threats that are put upon schools, implied through other mass shootings that happen every day across the country in the United States. So there's always got to be a consideration for policies regarding safety measures, training, and outreach. What I want to do my apologies. My phone shouldn't be really going. What I want to do is go over some things. One second. I want to go over some things involving Ethan, and I'm going to take you through just a time frame when he was younger that will help demonstrate how we got to the day, November 30th, 2021, where the mass shooting happened. So I want to read an article to you that's in the New York Post. It's dated December 7th, 2021, and the writer is Jorge Fitzgibbon. And it reads, a neighbor of accused Michigan high school shooter, Ethan Crumbley, says she warned authorities about his parents' alleged neglect of him before last week's slaughter, a new report reveals. I apologize for that language, which that word is offensive. So I apologize for that. Kayla Lemieux, who lives near Ethan, and his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, said she alerted child abuse authorities that the pair would leave their son, then 8 or 9 years old, home alone while they went out bar hopping, according to a report in the Detroit Free Press. When they were gone, he would come knock on our door, Lemieux, 28, told the outlet. They didn't leave him with a phone. Lemieux says she notified Child Protective Services but doesn't know if they took action, noting that the alleged neglect continued. It was really when I finally started to say more because I was just like, even after calling CPS, they were still doing it. And even me saying something to them, they were still like, oh, he is fine, she said. A spokesman for the child care agency told the Free Press that they could not confirm Lemieux's claims because all abuse allegations reported to the entity are kept confidential. The Crumbley's lawyer did not respond to requests for comment from the outlet. Ethan, 15, is being held without bail after being charged with first-degree murder, terrorism, and assault with intent to murder in last week's shooting rampage at Oxford High School, where the teen is a sophomore. The shootings left 4 students dead and 7 other people wounded. James and Jennifer Crumbley were charged Saturday with 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter in the case and are each being held on $500,000 bail. Police said the parents purchased the 9mm semi-automatic handgun used in the attack just 4 days earlier and refused to take their son out of school after a meeting over a disturbing drawing he had made in class. He opened fire about 3 hours later. Authorities say the parents were aware of disturbing behavior by their son before the shooting, yet still gave him access to the weapon. The couple went missing Friday after learning they were set to face charges and were arrested at a Detroit art studio the next day during a manhunt, authorities said. In a separate report Monday, the Free Press and Detroit police were ready for the Crumbleys to hide in their city and even held briefings on the possibility. We actually debriefed that and talked about our Metro Division and our resources and what we would have in place should that happen, Detroit Police Chief James White said. So we weren't surprised. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office is questioning Detroit artist Andrzej Sikora, 65, as a person of interest in the parents' time on the lam, suggesting he may have helped the Crumbleys elude police. County prosecutors are also reviewing whether any school officials could face charges for allowing the teen to go home and not checking his backpack where he had the gun. Now, I can say that there was a decision made that no one that worked for the school could be sued for the mass shooting. I just haven't talked about that, but that was a decision made. So that is just one neighbor that reported to Child Protective Services when Ethan was 8 or 9 years old that he was being left home alone. I want to go to an article by FoxNews.com. It's dated April 3rd, 2023. The author is Audrey Conklin, and the title is Michigan School Shooter Ethan Crumbley's Neighbor Reveals Parents Left Him Alone to Go Out and Drink. Now, this is a different time, a different neighbor. Ethan Crumbley's neighbor says the quiet boy next door was never, ever okay years before he executed a mass shooting at Oxford High School in Michigan on November 30th, 2021. Ethan was 15 years old when he fatally shot four students and wounded seven others using a gun his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, purchased for him as a Christmas gift. He pleaded guilty in October of 2022. He was never, ever okay. And I honestly believe he could have been. Susan Jennerson, the Crumbley's former neighbor, told the Detroit Free Press. Jennerson, a 60-year-old retired Air Force officer and mother to three sons, recalled getting in a huge fight when Ethan was about 12, when Jennifer Crumbley, who now faces four involuntary manslaughter charges with her husband for their alleged roles in the school shooting. Jennerson had offered to babysit the preteen when his parents were out socializing and drinking, something they often did without their son, so that he could spend time with her son and husband instead of being alone. They would go out and drink and leave him home alone, Jennerson said, echoing the prosecution's depiction of the Crumbleys as absent parents. He was scared. He would come over to my house and say, I can't be here because I'm going to get into trouble. She never spoke to Jennifer Crumbley again after that argument. Ethan didn't have a prayer as a child, she told the Free Press, adding that she doesn't know what her family could have done differently. Ethan was only 6 when Jennerson met him for the first time. Her husband and son occasionally went fishing with Ethan, and they even went skiing together at Pine Knob. Jennerson recalled James and Jennifer Crumbley being pleasant enough. The couple invited the Jennersons over for dinner and wine one night on their front patio, and Jennerson remembered Ethan being shy, according to the Free Press. She continued, I need people to understand that this was a 6-year-old boy at one time. I know he's quote unquote a monster for doing what he did. I'm not trying to excuse it. Her husband told the Free Press that as soon as he met Ethan, he told his wife there is something wrong because the boy never looked anyone in the eye. In a September court filing, the Crumbley's defense attorneys wrote, at the end of the day, Ethan was cared for and loved by his parents. They sent him to summer school, summer camps, and took family vacations. They attended parent-teacher conferences and emailed with teachers about their son, the filing states. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald revealed in December 2021 that the school officials met with Ethan and his parents to discuss violent drawings he created just hours before his deadly rampage. The suspect was able to convince them during the meeting that the concerning drawings were for a video game. His parents allegedly flatly refused to take their son home, McDonald said at the time. Shortly after his parents left, Ethan took a gun out of his backpack and killed four students. According to prosecutors, James Crumbley bought the pistol Ethan used in the shooting at a local firearms store on November 26, and Ethan had access to the gun at home before he brought it to Oxford High School. James Crumbley's wife, Jennifer Crumbley, said in a social media post that the gun was a Christmas present for their son. He shouldn't have had a gun, plain and simple, Jennifer's husband told the Free Press. The shooting weighs heavily on Jennifer now because she wonders what she could have done differently to help her young neighbor turned school shooter. This haunts me big time, she said. I will always wonder what else could we have done. The four deceased victims of the school shooting are 16-year-old Tate Muir, 16-year-old Justin Schilling, 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, and 17-year-old Madison Bawden. So I wanted you to hear the feelings and experiences of the people that knew Ethan when he was a little bit younger, and how they both intervened into his life to try to get him help by speaking with Jennifer Crumbley. Just they didn't mention James Crumbley; they mentioned Mom Jennifer Crumbley. I want to just say that the things that I believe the two neighbors saw, they saw him being left alone. They saw him not having a lot of interactions with his peers, other kids. And I think they would say they saw that he was troubled, that he was different, maybe lonely also. And we have to think, if this started when he was very young, starting at the age of 6, how many years was this going on? It sounds like since he was a little boy. This is years of a way of life being alone, not having interactions with others, not having a lot of interactions with your family, with peers. I just feel like, no one was really concerned about Ethan. And I feel that because his writings, his drawings were so dark, that he had really kind of went in a shell in a sense. I can't see how, if neighbors could see how troubled he was at a very young age, I just can't see how his parents didn't see it. Especially because his writings are so dark, his drawings are so dark, just depicting violence, homicide, anger, rage. I just don't understand how they didn't see it. I'm going to read this article. It's by CBSNews.com. It's dated August 5th, 2022, and it's titled Michigan Prosecutors Say Ethan Crumbley's Parents Exposed Him to Chaotic Home Life. Michigan prosecutors say the parents of accused Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley exposed him to years of chaotic toxic conflict, and that they left him in an unstable home, often with little supervision, creating a pathway to violence. In a court filing Thursday, prosecutors argued that evidence of Jennifer and James Crumbley's personal problems, including an extramarital affair and substance abuse, should be allowed to be introduced at their trial. Attorneys for the couple have called the evidence extraneous. The parents were each charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter after their teenage son allegedly shot and killed 4 students and injured 7 other people at Oxford High School in November. Prosecutors argued that Jennifer and James Crumbley played a much larger role than just buying their son a gun, and that there were many things the parents could have done other than simply locking up the gun that could have prevented the tragedy. They also argued the parents had every reason to know their son was dangerous. What the evidence will actually show is that these defendants exposed their son to years of chaotic, toxic conflict, which is a well known risk factor for entering the pathway to violence. The following states: the investigation paints a clear picture of parents who were not just in constant conflict or who just exposed their son to conflict, but who actively inserted him into their conflict. Investigators have interviewed witnesses from across the country who interacted with the family as far back as when Ethan was in kindergarten. The following reveals: neighbors and others told investigators that the parents would consistently fight and drink to excess, often leaving Ethan unsupervised. Evidence also shows the parents spent thousands of dollars on alcohol and care for horses and negligible amounts on Medicare. The following states: Ethan felt the financial stress and wrote about it in his journal. Prosecutors said, "My grades are failing. My parents hate each other. We have no money. I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school," one journal entry states. Prosecutors also allege that when Ethan was 6, his mother took him to stay the night with a person she was having an affair with and left him on the couch. When he was older, prosecutors said Jennifer and James Crumbley would ask their son to investigate potential infidelities or check up on one of the parents, inserting him into their personal problems. When Ethan went through stretches of poor sleep or insomnia, he complained of seeing demons and asked for help, but his parents ignored him, prosecutors said. Their son was deteriorating before their eyes. He went through stretches of sleeping only a few hours per night, staying up very late at night while defendants drank, argued, and slept only a few feet away in a bedroom that shared a wall with the shooter's room, prosecutors said. Witnesses also told investigators the parents were routinely intoxicated in front of Ethan and that marijuana was often used in the house, according to the filing, and that the parents spent nearly $4,000 at a nearby liquor store in 2021 alone. Prosecutors emphasized in their filing that they are asking to admit the evidence of Ethan's exposure to infidelity, substance abuse, arguments, and financial stress to show the stressful environment created by the Crumbley parents in the days and years before the deadly shooting. CNN requested comment from attorneys for Jennifer and James Crumbley on the allegations made by prosecutors, but did not receive an immediate response. It's like painting a picture. It's like painting a picture. We have to paint a full picture. We have to sit back, look, analyze this picture from very young growing up alone. Little care, little concern. This has been going on for years. Years. He was an angry, angry person. But it was something that had been because he was reaching out, crying out for help. He was lonely. He was troubled. He was suffering. And it's all in his writings. He didn't inflict his pain, his anger, his violence on his parents. But clearly it started and stemmed from the home environment. I can remember watching the victim impact statements at Ethan Crumbley's sentencing, and Tate Mears' dad said to Ethan, "You knew my son. You knew him from kindergarten. You guys went to the same school." And it's hard to think that somebody that you can grow up with, that you can see, would harm you, would hurt you, would pretty much unalive you, kill you. However, I can imagine that if his goal is to take all this pain, this anger, this hurt, this frustration on others, yes, would he hurt somebody that was not deserving? And it doesn't really matter deserving or not deserving, but would you inflict this pain on innocent people? In one of his journal entries, he said that there is no good, that there is no innocent, that he doesn't care about that. He's not going to try to hurt bad people. He wants to inflict as much pain and devastation because he's hurting. He wants to see other people hurt. He wants to see their reaction. He wants to see their screams. And he even wrote that he wanted the parents, when they found out that their kids were unalive, he wanted them to unalive themselves. This is a dark nature. This is a dark mindset. And he was not okay. He was not okay. So I want to turn my attention. I shared a video on the Hidden Horror Facebook page. All of these articles, everything is on there. So if you're not catching it now, you can always refer back to my Facebook. In one of the videos, the assistant principal who saw Ethan heard the gunshots, smelled the gunpowder. She didn't follow the proper protocol in line. She tried to help Tate Mears. And as she saw Ethan, she asked him, "Are you okay?" And he passed by her. And my thought was, why didn't he Why didn't he shoot her? And I pondered that because I think in this moment, in the strangest of ways, Tate Muir had just been shot in his head. The bullet had went through his eye. He was on the ground. The assistant principal was trying to give him mouth to mouth recession, and he was turning dark, probably blue. And when she was breathing into him, his skin would turn a little gray and go back darker. And as Ethan is seeing this, I think for a minute he could tell that her overriding feelings was first care. It wasn't a run, it wasn't a hide. It was for care. Care and concern for Tate. And he didn't stop her, he did not shoot her, he walked past. It's a powerful moment because I think in life that's what he sought, that's what he wanted, that's what he desired, that he never got. He never got anybody to stop. He didn't get anybody to care. And I think this is partly how he got to do the mass shooting. I think you should watch her testimony because this was one of the rare moments that I ever seen Ethan Crumbley cry. I had not seen any emotion from him during the trial. He would sit, he would quietly sit still, he would have his head down. But at this moment, he began to cry. I think I'm going to show you the video. Let's see.
Is it okay if I call you Christy?
Yes, of course.
Christy, what do you do for a living?
I'm an assistant principal at Oxford High School.
Okay, you're gonna have to give yourself.
Okay.
You're an assistant principal at Oxford High School, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And how long have you held that position?
That position, I just finished my 5th year in that position.
Okay.
I've been in the district. I start my 29th year on Monday.
Okay. And I still can't quite hear you.
Okay.
Your 29th year?
On Monday, I started. Yep.
Okay. And how long have you had a position in the high school?
5 years of this position, this assistant principal position. Years ago, I was a teacher there.
Okay. Where were you before you came to the high school?
I was an elementary principal.
I want to get this on the record as quick as we can and address it. You actually know the defendant, correct?
I do.
Okay. And you have known him for how long?
He was a student at my elementary school, Ethan was, and he transferred in about 3rd or 4th grade. Sorry, he transferred into to Oxford schools about 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay. And over the years, how much interaction have you had with him?
Just hellos and hugs and stuff that I do with all the kids.
And what do you do with all the kids?
I try to bring a lot of energy to the building, so hellos, hugs, care about them, support them, do what I can to make sure that they're feeling okay.
Okay, and that's something you did in elementary school as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to take you to November 30th of 2021. That was the beginning of the school year, the first quarter, and the defendant was a student. He was a sophomore at the time, correct?
Yes, correct.
And how much interaction had you had with him as the principal assistant principal of the high school, since he was in high school?
None, very little, just hellos or greetings.
Okay, and ever had any kind of conversation with him during high school?
Nothing beyond just greetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to interact with him from an administrative point of view, discipline, anything?
No, absolutely not.
Ever met with his parents in the high school?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna
So
try
you're
to
not
turn
called
this light
upon
off.
as an assistant principal to ever have an interaction with the defendant unless it was just the hellos and hugs?
Correct.
Okay.
I can't get that shiny out.
Around 12:30
I don't know, guys. I can't
on
get the
November
shiny out.
30th, where were
It's
you
like
in the building, if you can remember?
I was in the cafeteria supervising lunches.
And is that
Yeah,
the
we was
comments
going
were
on.
there?
Yeah, up there would be the comments.
Okay, is that something you do every day?
It's the most fun of the day because the kids are relaxing and it's a good time to interact and check in with them.
Okay. And at some point, did that lunch period end?
Yeah.
Okay, and what did you do afterwards?
I walked down the, I don't even know what that hallway number is. I don't even know if it has a number, John Hill's hallway, down towards the senior courtyard, senior window, to help supervise there. So I stopped about there on that corner. The senior window would be to my right.
What's the senior window?
Senior window is where the seniors hang out and chit chat. It's kind of like their space that is not infiltrated with any freshmen.
Okay,
And so therefore it's like their spot.
all right. And why do you hang out there?
Well, I go just to make sure that the kids can get through because it is a big intersection of the building. So there's a lot of traffic there. So I will go and I call it a senior citizen window when I'm standing in there and I try to move traffic through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you were doing on that day?
I was heading that direction, yes.
Okay. At what point did you notice something was unusual?
A student went running by that I know pretty well, and he was yelling, "Get the hell out of here!" And I,
He was yelling, I'm sorry, what?
"Get the hell out of here!" And kind of caught my ear and didn't know what was happening. But then there were some other kids kind of rushing behind him, and so then I was asking what's going on, and they said, "We don't know," and they were laughing and running. So I didn't know what was happening at that point.
Did you think anything serious was happening?
Not with the first bunch of kids.
Okay.
No. I did get on my walkie and say, "There's a bunch of kids running. Do we have anything happening?" Just asking on the walkie.
Do you always carry the radio?
I try to always carry my radio, yes.
Okay, and who is connected by that radio?
There's several in the office, the counseling office, the main office, the principals, our TC, which is our teacher consultant, some of our social workers, some of our classrooms.
How many assistant principals are there?
There was 2 at the time, now there's 3.
And then is there also then a principal?
Yes,
Okay, and what's the principal's name at the time?
Steve Wolf.
Okay. So you radio and say, is there anything going on?
Yeah. Yes, just about after, almost immediately after I'd asked about the kids rushing, someone came over the PA system and said that we needed to implement Alice protocols.
Who was the person that made that announcement?
I believe it was Steve.
When he says Alice protocols, did you know if did he say this is a drill or not a drill?
I don't remember.
Did you think it was a drill?
Based on what I was seeing, I knew something was happening.
Okay. What are you trained to do with Alice protocol, active shooter training?
So the alert would be the announcement. Students then go to lockdown as quick as possible, try to take cover.
And lockdown is behind a door, implementing the night lock, correct?
Putting the night lock in, barricading the door, creating a safe space, grabbing objects that you could counterattack with if you needed to.
And Chrissy, all the students get that training, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So the defendant would have had that training.
yes,
So he would have known what kids were supposed to be doing.
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So do you want me to carry on with where we walked? Okay, so then,
I want you to say what you're
we're
trained-
supposed to do,
trained to
continue to do. So
And
then,
by no means do I mean that to say that you did anything wrong, but we will hear in a minute what you did do. But what are you assigned to do in that Alice protocol?
so in theory, once everybody gets to the rooms, then they would come over the PA system. Somebody would come over the PA system and inform us of what is either happening or what the next steps would be. So if they knew that if they had the situation contained, they would announce that and allow people to evacuate. Or if people are aware that their area is safe or they have an external window, they could exit.
Where are you supposed to go?
Me, I'm supposed to lock down in the, wherever I can lock down.
You're supposed to be behind a door with a night lock on it or something similar with a barricade.
Yes,
Okay. Is that what you did?
no.
What did you do?
I first checked the hallway that I always check. The 400 hallway is the hallway that I always check,
And
which is the one that goes, straight down that.
the record should reflect that she's pointing to on the map, the center hallway, which is what they call the 400.
The 400, yeah.
Thank you, so reflective.
So I started to go down that hallway just to check to make sure everybody was locked down.
And were there kids in the hallway still, a bunch of kids?
No, when the Alice alert went, the hallways cleared just so fast.
Okay.
So I was the only one in that hallway, just walking and checking. A teacher did come out to lock his door. A student came up that was late and saying, "Is it a drill?" And I said, "It doesn't matter if it's a drill, just get in there and lock down, please." And so we got him in there, and then I started back down the hallway. I heard some gunshots, and so
What did you hear exactly? What did it sound like?
it sounded like two pieces of lumber being smacked together.
Did you recognize it immediately as a gunshot?
I don't remember how I processed it, to be honest with you. Just because I know what I know now, I don't know.
Did you tell where it was coming from? Was it close? Was it far?
It was down towards the 200 hallway,
Okay.
and that's the big
Yep.
circle at the
Yes.
bottom.
Okay. And so you heard these two gunshots that you weren't sure were gunshots at this point, but
Yeah,
what did you
yes.
do?
And then I started to walk towards them because I needed to go find out. In my head, I needed to go help.
Okay.
Um,
Just to set the scene here, there's an active shooter protocol that's being implemented. You are supposed to lock down. Instead, you head down 400, and then you heard gunshots, and you headed towards the gunshots.
Correct.
Okay. And what happened after that?
I could smell what I called cap gun. I didn't know it to be gun powder. I got on the walkie and I said to them that I heard some shots, and then shortly after I said that I could smell what smelled like cap gun.
Is anyone responding to you?
Kurt Noose responded to me first and asked where I was.
What did you say?
Said in the 200 hallway, he said that's a very big hallway. And I think he needed more direction. And so I let him know I was by the 400 hallway.
So is that dot right there about where you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And what could you see at that point?
When I turned the corner, I could see a student walking towards me.
You turned which corner?
I turned the corner and went to what would be my left, and
Okay.
You're right on this.
Okay, so
Yes.
you saw somebody right there.
Yeah,
Or wait,
down the
down the hall.
hallway. Yeah, down the hallway.
And can you move it down about where?
Probably by 218, room 218.
Okay. Did you recognize who the student was?
Not at that point, no.
Can you describe the student? What did you see at that point?
I saw a student putting his arm down.
Down from like a shoulder length height
Yeah,
position?
yes. And then
What was the student wearing? Light clothes, dark clothes?
a hoodie, a hood was up. We were all in masks at that time. The hood was long, kind of down like around the knuckles, so I only could see a little bit of the gun.
So you could see a gun.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I got on the walkie and said that I have eyes on the shooter.
And then did someone respond to you?
I don't know. I don't remember. They probably did.
Okay. What did you do?
I kept walking towards him.
Okay. I have to ask, why did you walk towards the shooter?
I needed to help.
Okay. And what did you see?
There was a student on the ground.
Laying on the ground? Okay. And is that red dot about where that student was?
Yes.
Did you know who the student was?
No, sorry, no.
So what did you do?
So there was a garbage can between me and the student. And I moved the garbage can out of the way.
And at this point, where is the person with the gun?
Just up ahead a little bit,
Was he walking towards you or walking away?
walking towards me.
At some point, did he pass by you?
When he got closer, I realized it was Ethan. And I just thought, it couldn't be Ethan. He wouldn't do that. And so I talked to him.
What did you say?
I said, "Are you okay? And what's going on?"
At this point, were you processing that he had used the gun and shot other people or could have?
Initially, I thought there's no way it could be him. So I didn't know if maybe he recovered it. And so that's why I talked to him.
We picked it up off the ground. Okay, when he was close enough to see who he was, can you describe what his demeanor was?
When I started talking to him, he looked away from me, but kept walking. He just walked past me.
Was he walking in a frantic, panicked way?
He was very calm.
Did he speak to you?
He didn't speak to me, and that's when I figured something was really wrong, because I feel like he would have told me what was going on.
He walked past you, correct?
He walked past me.
Did he point the gun at you?
Not that I saw.
Okay. What did you do when he walked past you?
I turned to walk with him for a second, and that's when I was talking to him. And then I had to get back to the student who was on the ground.
That was your focus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to play a video of what you just described.
We're playing
And
that.
the video cannot be viewed, Your Honor.
Thank you. And the cameraman is indicating that he's not recording this. So before you play this video, again, if there's anyone in the courtroom that wishes to step out at this time, please feel free to step out at this time. Thank you, people. You may proceed.
Let us know when you're in the image, please.
I'm in the image there at the kind of the left side of the screen. I have a
You're
mask
wearing
on.
a
Yellow. Yeah.
gold jacket.
Yeah.
And is this where a student came running by and said, "Get the hell out of here"?
Yeah, that's the location I was in when he did.
Okay, let us know when you see that person.
Okay. There, right there. There's a student who said it. And then,
Those are students running, correct?
correct. And then I stopped some students to see what was going on there, and they told me they didn't know. That's when I said there's kids walking in the hall or running in the hallway.
Okay,
And this is after the Alice. They called the Alice protocol somewhere in there. So then I went down this hallway, letting them know what I was seeing.
okay.
So
Is that
that's
the
Ethan.
defendant? Okay.
Yes.
And can you see him at this point? Where are you?
I was at the top of the hallway. I didn't
Is
see
that
him.
you?
That is me.
Okay. But you hadn't seen him at this point?
No.
Okay.
This is the teacher that I'm checking in with. Another teacher didn't have their door closed. I was checking in to close their door. And now I'm coming down to make the turn. This is when I said I smelled gunfire, cap gun. And you'll see me pause at some point here because that's when I see Ethan right there.
Is that when you?
When I stepped aside, that's when I saw him.
Is that when you radioed? You have eyes on the shooter? Is
Yes.
that a yes?
Yes.
What are we looking at here?
That's the student.
Okay. And where is the defendant at this point?
Down the hallway ahead of us.
Okay. We're gonna continue to play this. That's you moving the trash can to get to that student.
Yeah, and I nudged him with my foot to just tell him to stay there.
Are you talking to him at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that the defendant?
That's Ethan. Yes.
And he's got the gun in his hand,
Yes.
and that's when you say to him, "What's going on?"
Yes. And then I walk and I'm talking on the walkie and saying he just walked past me. Walked for a little bit and then I lost him. And then I was too far away from the student. And so then I went to the student.
Okay, so
And this is when
okay, Christy. You don't know where the shooter is at this point?
he's behind me.
Okay. And you don't know the state of this student on the ground?
No.
And you don't know who it is?
No.
Quickly though, you realized who it is. Can you tell the court what happened?
I rolled the student over and it was Tate Muir.
And how did you know Tate?
I had Tate and his brothers from elementary school all the way through high school. I've known Tate since he was about 3.
And how could you have known him since he was 3?
His brothers were in my school, his older brothers, and so he was coming to school with Mom. Mom was involved in our PTO.
And what was that like for you?
We could take a moment, please. When you're ready, ma'am, please let us know.
It was crushing, and I had to help him. I just needed to save him for his mom.
How did you try to help him? Could you see that he was wounded anywhere?
Yeah, I could feel the entrance wound in the back of his head. I could see that the bullet had exited through his eye. When I put my hand down on the ground, I put my hand in what would have been his eyeball. I immediately started to begin to take his pulse and check his vitals as best as I could. And then
At some point, you were trying to get his backpack off, correct?
I was trying to get his backpack off, but he's a big dude and I couldn't get it off of him. He's so heavy and I was unable to move him.
He was athletic and
Very strong. Yeah.
okay. At some point, you did begin giving him life-saving breaths, correct?
I did.
Okay. Were you radioing to anybody trying to get help?
I was, and Kurt News came
Okay.
immediately, really shortly after me starting to get there, and he helped me get the backpack off.
Could you see anything else going on while you were doing this?
No.
Okay.
At that point, I was just focused on tape.
When you started giving him breaths, were you making any, did you feel like you were helping him?
I just kept talking to him,
And what were you saying?
that I love him, that I needed him to hang with me.
Chrissy, what color was he?
It was blue. But when I was giving him breaths, he was getting lighter, so I just thought they were helping. So I kept giving the breaths.
How long did you do that?
Felt like forever, until they took him away from me. And then when they took him away from me, I was telling him to keep giving him breaths. He needs air. I could taste his blood. There was so much blood. It was all over me. It took me a long time, months, probably almost a year, to get the taste of Tate's blood out of my mouth.
Chrissy, did you see the defendant after that?
He, at some point while I was giving breaths, the police had arrived and he came out with his hands up and he was on his knees, with his hands up. And they were trying to figure out who he was. And he didn't answer them. I don't think he answered them when he said his name or they asked for his name. And so I got up from Tate to run over and say his name's Ethan. And then I ran back to Tate because I didn't want to leave Tate for too long.
Did Tate, do you think, recognize your voice? Do you have any?
I hope so. I don't know. He didn't give me any response. There was no response from him. I called for an AED. They brought me one. He had a pulse, so I just kept giving breaths.
And you could get his color to change with each breath?
To about a gray.
After he was taken away, they took him to get help, correct?
They did it after Ethan was secured. They took Tate in
How long were you at that school that day?
10:30 at night. I don't know. I couldn't leave.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
I have no questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, ma'am, thank you for being here. You may be excused. You may also leave the courthouse.
Thank you. That was the assistant principal testimony. It's really hard. I was thinking about playing a short clip from one of the victims that survived, because I think it's important. I think it's important also to hear some of the kids that survived and the teacher that survived. I think it's good to hear how they're doing. I think it's important to know how they're doing after they've survived this terrible act. Let's see if I can find this is one of the survivors. His name is Keegan. He was the student that was in the boys' restroom with Justin Schilling. Justin Schilling is the victim that was shot. Keegan and Justin were hiding out in the bathroom from Ethan. They both were in a stall together. And when Ethan came into the bathroom, he ordered Justin to come out of the stall. When Justin came out of the stall, Ethan shot him to death. Ethan then asked Keegan to come out of the stall. And when he came out, he ran. He ran until he got to the office. And him running, Ethan did not chase him. I think it saved his life because Ethan was going to also execute him. And I think what's happening with Keegan, besides anxiety, PTSD, having trouble just on the fact that you survived and Justin didn't, or what if Ethan had Keegan come out of the stall versus Justin, then he feels that he took his place. And he's really, really struggling with survivor's guilt. And it's bad because he's here, he's alive. But mentally, it's like the trial, the sentencing, it takes a toll on you. Even as a survivor. And a lot of people, they're struggling. And that's why it's important that as much as possible, the community can come together and we can learn from this tragedy. I think I should go over the U.S. Department of Justice. They have an office for victims of crime. I shared it on the Hidden Horror Facebook page, but I just want to talk about that a little bit because there's trauma here. There's trauma in the community. There's trauma with the victims, their families, the administration in the school district. There's trauma in law enforcement. And, you know, at different levels, everybody has some mental health concerns, and some are in crisis. So I want to just mention this resource that is trying to help with the aftermath of Ethan Crumbley's actions. This resource is available to victims. It's available if you need financial support, if you need funeral financial support, if you need resources for law enforcement. How do you move on? How do you deal with all of this trauma, all of this violence in the aftermath of attacks like this that's on the level of terror? So the OVC, they are an established resource for victims in the community where they can get some of the help that they need. So they have resources that are available. And again, it's under the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Federal Programs, and there's help there for mass shooting victims and their families. There's resources. I would encourage you, even if you're in law enforcement and you just need additional support, especially mental health support, to check them out, to share those resources, because a lot of people are impacted when violence like this happens in the community, and there is a terrible aftermath left behind. Ethan said he wanted to see the people suffer. Well, this is what suffering looks like. So I'm going to now play the update on Keegan, who is the surviving victim, who was in the bathroom with Justin Schilling when he was killed.
The family of a teenager who survived the Oxford High School shooting is speaking out tonight. They are sharing their struggles on the heels of the shooter's mother being convicted for involuntary manslaughter. 7 Action News reporter Ruta Olsonida spoke to the parents of Keegan Gregory.
Keegan Gregory, he is having a hard time. In fact, on his own will and with his parents' help, he has now checked into a treatment facility.
On that Tuesday, I walked into the school as a normal 9th grader, yet I walked out an entirely different person.
This was the powerful victim statement 17-year-old Keegan Gregory read aloud in court December 8th during the trial of the Oxford High School shooter. In 2021, the young freshman was trapped in a bathroom during the massacre with the shooter himself and Justin Schilling.
His moral compass was completely shattered. And there are times when he wonders why, he's still here.
I sat down with Keegan's parents, Megan and Chad Gregory, alongside their attorney, Ben Johnson, to get an update on Keegan.
Keegan, after sentencing, took a turn downward. So we had to put him in inpatient treatment back in December, and he is currently still there.
Keegan is currently at a facility on the east side of Florida receiving mental health treatment due to the ongoing trauma.
I felt then and still feel now the guilt of surviving. I know that if it wasn't Justin's life that was taken, it could have been mine.
That Florida facility is the same one that treated Parkland students after the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Megan and
Okay, so I just want to stop it there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play Keegan's victim impact statement from Ethan Crumbley's trial. I want you to hear his words. Okay, so let's play that. This is on WNEM TV 5. And again, this is Keegan Gregory's impact statement at Ethan Crumbley's sentencing. And we will wrap it up after this.
My name is Keegan Gregory, and on November 30th, 2021, my life and many others were changed forever. Since that day, the Oxford community, including myself, my family, my friends, and my school, have endured an unimaginable amount of hurt, pain, and trauma. What started as a normal Tuesday turned into an event that changed many of our lives forever. My life has not been and won't ever be the same. Before the shooting, I was doing well. Life was comfortable and without any major problems. I trusted that people in the world was safe, especially my hometown. On that Tuesday, I walked into the school as a normal 9th grader, yet I walked out an entirely different person. I'm overwhelmed by grief, shock, fear, and disbelief. On that day, I was trapped in the bathroom with the perpetrator and with Justin Schilling. We were stuck helpless and cornered with no defense. I was right there when he was shot and killed, yet I couldn't do anything about it. I was in absolute disbelief and shock. It doesn't feel real that somebody has the capacity to kill people without any remorse, thought, or cause. Everyone at school that day was living their own life, and there was no regard for who he shot at and or killed. It was, and always will be, the most terrifying moment of my life. Being cornered with no option but to run out of the bathroom as fast as I could, hoping to live. Even after leaving the bathroom, I could see bodies on the floor, blood everywhere, and knew that some of my peers were now gone. It was the day when Justin's life was cut short and he had no choice or say in it all. I know that my life could have been taken as well that day. What started as shock and disbelief on November 30th and the days following slowly became fear that overwhelmed me and brought me to a dark place, filled with sadness and grief for the families who lost someone close to them, as well as the thoughts about what other students in the school and their families were going through. Those were and are the darkest moments of my life. I felt then and still feel now the guilt of surviving. I know that if it wasn't Justin's life that was taken, it could have been mine, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. I almost feel guilty about being alive, knowing that Justin's family is living in grief. I remember meeting them for the first time and not knowing who they were, what they were going through, or how they would react. That guilt is now compounded with sadness, fear, anxiety, and trauma. It is insane that one person could change the course of so many lives with a single event and not care about them at all. My life and so many other lives were changed because of it. I did well in school, and yet after the shooting couldn't bring myself to go into school, let alone focus or learn anything. I didn't feel safe. This year I have finally been able to attend and be present in school. However, I still experience many triggers on a daily basis and have to work 10 times harder than I did before. I can't go into crowded rooms or public spaces without feeling afraid. Initially, there was a constant thought of how can I escape, because I didn't and couldn't trust anybody. To this day, I still scan rooms and people whenever I'm somewhere new because I can no longer assume that the world is a safe place. At the time, I wouldn't speak about it because it was too much. No one could truly understand what we went through that day. I felt absolutely hopeless because I could barely function in my day-to-day life. My daytimes were filled with flashbacks, fear, grief, and paranoia. My nighttimes were sleepless and consumed with thoughts about the day. I had gained awareness of every noise and potential danger in my home, and nightmares that I had no control over. I couldn't find true rest or safety when I was awake or asleep, at home or in public, with people I knew or people I didn't know. There was no safe place to escape, not even in my mind. I continued to feel trapped in this new reality. Even knowing that there was a 0.01 chance of anything bad happening, the potential danger or harm is always in the back of my mind. With the past several months, my family moved out of state. It has been extremely difficult to meet new people because I didn't know who I can trust. Well, when I do meet new people, it's hard to explain to them what I went through on that day and the impact it has had on my life. They can't truly understand or relate. It's scary to know that there can be someone else in this world that has the potential to harm so many. It's harder to function in my day-to-day life while everything takes a little extra thought or precaution. I used to be good in school, now it's hard to be in the building, let alone socialize or learn when my brain is constantly operating from a place of fear and anxiety. My life is now full of what ifs, and it's hard to present in the moment. He robbed me and the Oxford community of so many things. Thankfully, our community came together to support one another. But this came from a place of trauma and brokenness and should never have to be this way. So many people, including myself and my family, had to reshape, reorganize, and reschedule their lives financially to accommodate for the aftermath. The therapy appointments, groups, doctor appointments, community events, court dates, etc. When we were in our most vulnerable states, we had to endure the challenges and obstacles that come with the tragedy. There are so many things in our lives that won't ever be the same. We were ultimately robbed of our trust, safety, security, friends, school hobbies, and life as we knew it to be. Your Honor, I trust that you will assign a sentence that makes sure he won't ever hurt anyone again. No matter the outcome of the sentencing, I hope he can receive the counseling he needs to understand the impact of his actions that it had on the community and the people's lives. I hope one day he realizes how unnecessary it was. It's been over 2 years since that day, and I'm still very much in the process of healing. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it or feel the impact. My hope is that one day things will steady out and my day-to-day life will become easier. I hope that we can all heal to a point of living without feeling afraid, anxious, hopeless, or guilty. I hope this is something that will grow with me and strengthen me, but no longer define me. I hope we can all get to a place where November 30th, 2021 is a day of remembering the lives who were taken and is no longer remembered in the way the perpetrator had intended. I hope we will come out of this stronger than we were before to carry on the legacies of the four lost.
Okay. I think if I can find this, I want to see if I can find, instead of me closing it out, I'm going to see if I can find yeah, I found it. Tate Mears' dad, his impact statement at Ethan's sentencing. This will be how we close it out, okay? This is by Fox 2 Detroit.
I have come home and I have stood at the base of the steps just dreading the fourth.
Thank you. sir. If you could, please state your full name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Buckner. I'm Taylor's father.
Thank you for being here, sir. Is there something you wish to address with the court this morning?
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
So as I kind of prepared for this, I wrote a victim impact statement earlier, a couple months ago, and wrote another one last night. Not sure if I'm gonna really read this one, but I want to start first with just a little bit of the story. So the morning of November 30th, I was working from home, and my wife was working in Lake Orion, and I was on a conference call, and I heard some sirens in the background, and really didn't think much of it, but they were not going away, and they were getting louder. And I got a call from my wife, and she told me about what was going on at the school. So I got done with my conference call and started making my way to the school and texted Tate a couple times, called him, no response. So then we get to Meyer, and I met my wife there, and you know, as all the kids are filing into Meyer, Sherry and I are both walking around looking for Tater. And I had a feeling something didn't feel right to me. And so as people started as kids and parents started slowly fading out of Meyer, I grabbed our athletic director, who was at Meyer, and said, "Where's Tate? Have you seen Tate?" And he looked at me and he said, "No." But he knew. He knew, but he couldn't tell me. He wasn't the one to tell me. So as we're wandering around Meyer, asking everybody if they've seen Tate, we got summoned to the manager's office at Meyer. And we're delivered the news that Tate wasn't with us anymore. And the thing that stands out to me was what my wife said. She put her head in her hands and it said, "Not my baby boy." So we walk out of the room in shock, not really sure if what we heard was real and true. So we had to make our calls to Trent and Ty. And I can't remember who I called, who Sherry called, but I didn't know how to say it. I don't know. I can't remember who it was. Trent or Ty, who I talked to. And I didn't know how to soften it. And I basically said Tate was killed. And so the boys came to Meyer, and we we left as a family to go home. And when we got home, we were just a bunch of zombies, and we were kind of walking around. And believe it or not, we cooked dinner that night. And had a couple visitors. And, you know, as we kind of are working our way through this process, it's been quite a journey. I can tell you that, you know, the one thing that is love is obviously absent from our family, because there's no joy. When you have joy, it's easy to love. So, me and my wife are trying to figure out how to save our marriage and how to save our family. And we didn't even do anything to each other. So, as we navigate these treacherous waters, you know, we try to honor Tate and because we know he's looking down on us, and I know he's not very proud with how his dad is handling this. But his dad's fighting, his mom's fighting, and his brothers are fighting. So I'll read a little bit of this victim impact statement here. This is kind of you know, yesterday just came and went. Today has dealt us another hand of heartaches that we'll have to play. For the past 2 years, our family has been navigating our way through complete hell. Tears filled with pain, they fall like rain. We wear the pain like a heavy coat, constant reminders every day. Every hour is the darkest time of the day. I understand from journal entries, this was desired outcome. For us to feel the pain that you had. I will tell you this, we are miserable. We miss Tate. Our family has a permanent hole in it that can never be fixed, ever. As we fight and claw our way through this journey, we are realizing that we're completely miserable. There does not appear to be a way out. So, to this day, you are winning. But today is a day where the tides change. Today, we are going to take ours back. We're all cried out. We're all tired out. We need to take this chip off our shoulder. We've been on this island far too long. We are the prisoner, not you. Nobody else can set us free but us. In life, sometimes what you need is exactly what you fear. We fear forgiveness for your selfish acts. So today, how hard it is, we need to find a way to start working our way to forgiveness. Forgiveness to you, forgiveness to your parents, forgiveness to the school. What other options do we have? Be miserable for the rest of our lives and rob our family of normalcy? Be miserable and rob Trent and Ty of a normal life filled with friends, their future wife and kids. Be miserable with Rob, Sherry, and I. A happy life that we worked very hard for and earned. Believe me, we will never forget about you, ever. We want you to spend the rest of your life riding in your cell. What you stole from us is not replaceable. But what we won't let you steal from us is a life of normalcy. And we'll find a way to get there through forgiveness and through putting good into this world. I'm sure you've heard about our peer-to-peer mentoring program we started, 42 Strong, the Tate Meir Foundation. We launched it after the tragedy in honor of our Tater. He was an amazing kid. He loved to give. He loved to serve. Went to the same elementary school as you. You knew him. But there's good that's going to come from this. And the good is kids are going to have a buddy. They're going to have somebody to lean on. A peer they can trust and love and build a relationship with. Trust, love, build. Tate left the roadmap for us, all of us. He left that roadmap from the people he learned from. Mom and Dad, Trent and Ty, his teachers, his coaches, his neighbors. So if we could all make the effort, and if we take the time, maybe we can leave this much behind. So I'm going to stand here by your fire because it's cold. It's a cold one tonight. And I'll be taking care of Soul Fight.
Thank you for your comments this morning, sir. And I've read a litany of victim impact statements, and your son had an extremely positive impact on his community. So thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Could you please state your full name for the record?
It's not getting easier tonight. Woo. Oh. Trust, love, build, community. So, with that being said, the last thing I want to do with that idea in mind, trust, love, build. I would like to share Ethan Crumbley's contact information. Whew. I'm going to type it below to share. Whew. typing it now. So once I'm done, I'll be able to share. Okay. So, Ethan Crumbley, he has been sentenced. He received a term of life without the possibility of parole. He will be turning 18 in April, late April, and he has a very long road to go. Still growing, still developing, still figuring out who he is going to be as a man, as a person. By him being so young, at 15, when the shooting happened, and with the circumstances of so much negligence, so much neglect, very little care and concern by the parents, I am personally going to show concern by reaching out to Mr. Crumbley after he turns 18, so after his 18th birthday, to show some care. Now, I'm providing the address information right here if you would like to write, mail a card, send any kind of positive guidance his way. He is in the Thumb Correctional Facility. I believe that is it's a security level 2. It's described as having housing for males that are 18 and older. So he may be in a mixed community, but not a lot older than him. They do have some programming there. Most places have basic programming, GED, things like that. I think overall, it's really important that at the time that he is still maturing, that outreach is done to show some guidance. And hopefully he can change and go in a different direction. I believe that forgiveness is needed for healing, for the community to heal, for all of this darkness that was cast upon everybody involved, from the administration to the parents, to the victims, to law enforcement. All of Ethan's darkness that was shared, that was put on everybody. I think this is a start for healing, for reconciliation, for him to change his life, rebuild his life, and change the trajectory of where he's headed. So if everyone that has a desire to send guidance, positive instruction, support, that's the address to do it. I want to say to the victims, to law enforcement, to the state and prosecution, to all of the families, the teachers, the staff, everyone in the community that came together. This is the road to healing. Being a community that shows the care and concern, just like the assistant principal. Are you okay? What is happening? Just like those neighbors, reaching out, showing concern, showing kindness, showing love. This is the path to healing and also forgiveness. We need that more. We need more love in the world. So I want to thank everyone for spending this time with me. It's not easy, but it is possible, especially if we work together. I wish you love. I wish you healing. And it's going to take one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. This is a journey. So I want to thank you all. I'm sending my love and prayers. And I just want to remind you, remember to stay smart, stay safe, stay savvy. Hidden Horror loves you. Good night. Have a wonderful weekend. Be well, all my friends. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Good night.